Okay, it looks like we are rolling. Hello, welcome to another episode of Dealer Diagnostics. Today, Russ and I are going to be talking just a little bit about some of the exciting things that are happening inside our industry. We want to talk about the Youth Council and AEM's participation in that. So, hello, Russ. How you doing?
I'm good this morning. And you, friend?
I'm doing pretty well. Hey, today, I wanted to talk a little bit about our involvement, specifically your involvement with the Youth Industry Engagement Council through AEM, and how that is really helping drive some interest in the youth and getting them more involved in the ag and construction and just trades in general. But I wanted to visit with you a little bit about that and just get your take on what's happening, what's new in the council, what's really going on.
Well, thanks, friend. Yeah, when I got my last W-2 form, I wanted to continue in the industry.
Right.
And I started my career as a teacher and a coach and wanted to continue in that capacity. The students are just slightly different. And a year ago, in fact, about 18 months ago, I was approached by friends at AEM with a concept. They were talking about trying to create a funnel that would capture and keep the next generation of talent in the food channel. And I use that rather than agriculture to broaden it. So a friend from AEM, Trevor Cowart, contacted me and said, hey, we're putting together this council. It'll be members of AEM on a volunteer basis. And our interest is trying to link the youth organizations from 8-year-olds all the way through collegiate into their academic and beyond their academic into their career. So I can explain some of the elements of that and how it started, what we've done. And we've kind of focused on about 8 different youth organizations that we think have high quality. That doesn't include all of them. I'm sure there's ones that we'll forget. But if you look at the channel from an 8-year-old in 4-H to a collegiate graduate at 24 ready to enter the job market, there are a number of places that they can put their elbows on the table and go to work and gain insights from people like you, people like me, other people in the industry that have had an experience that they're going to have somewhere in their job career.
Yeah, and it's super exciting. AEM represents thousands of companies across, like you say, the food channel, right? And it doesn't have to be just ag, construction, forestry, mining. I mean, all these companies they work with. And I totally agree with you. When I was in the retail environment working for the dealership, an ag dealership, we started going into the junior highs and then the grade schools to try to spark that interest earlier, because there's tons of things that young people can do inside our industry. It's not just boring every day. Just I'm going to work in a ag dealership and I'm going to have to be responsible for a farmer or something like that. There's tons of robotics, telematics, computer work, all kinds of stuff.
Exactly. And it used to be cows, plows, and sows, right? 2 decades ago, when we came out of an environment, we didn't have the same vision, the same scope that exists today. So if you look at where we're investing, I talk about the difference between influence and impact. And really at AEM, what we're trying to do is connect the dots and have an influence on those 1,000 members of AEM so they can have an impact then on what's going on in the channel. So if I look at it, most of us are aware of Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts at a very young age. And we start to understand an organization that can help us mature. Well, the first food or ag organization is 4-H. 6 million young people are involved in 4-H across our North America. And it's key to the adult volunteer that manages each of those chapters. And this is a very busy time for 4-H because they're going through their county fairs with their projects, they're going to the state fair with their projects. But you think of that number at 6 million, it's handed off, the baton moves to the FFA at about age 14. And between 14 and 22, depending upon the investment by the school system and an agricultural program with an ag advisor, record number over 1,100,000 young people are involved in the FFA, and every October, November, they have their conference or their convention in Indianapolis. 70,000 people participate. It's a Herculean event. So
Mm-hmm.
6 million to 1 million, that means we've already lost 5 out of 6 young people paying attention to the food channel. From the high school, FFA, early college level, the pass off is the AFA, Ag Futures of America. Ag Futures of America is relatively young, celebrating their 30th anniversary this year. Started in 1996 in Kansas City. Crosby Kemper made the first endowment to that. And today, in the AFA, there's approximately 60 universities across 43 states, probably upwards to 25,000 young people involved. And they likewise have a conference in November, Kansas City based, and about 950 members of the AFA assemble in Kansas City to talk about leadership. Now, the important part of this is the USDA will tell you that each year we have about 60,000 opportunities for collegiate graduates into the food channel. 60,000 opportunities shared by 20,000 young people who have gone through an agricultural or a food channel career at the academic level. Now, and they're not the only ones. The 4-H, FFA, AFA. The other, what I'll call young adult organizations, include SkillsUSA. So for those young people that are going to be in the skills trades, are going to be our welders, our plumbers, our electricians, our builders, an excellent opportunity. That organization has over 450,000 members, U.S. Each June, they meet in Atlanta for an annual conference where 9,000 to 10,000 young people come to Atlanta because they've already run a contest at the state level. And they come into Atlanta to compete nationally in skills of welding, of graphic design, of electronics, mechanics, how to troubleshoot. There's one group, for 2 days, they take a blueprint and construct a project. 48 of them working side by side, four people to a team. So they spend 2 days constructing it. It gets evaluated. Then they spend another day tearing it down so that the resources could go back to the volunteers. So SkillsUSA, it's a global organization. They hope, their plan is to by 2030 have 1 million participants in the SkillsUSA. You and I both know how important it is that we're populating that particular area so that we have somebody that's doing our refrigeration, somebody that's doing our electrical work, somebody that's constructing our buildings. And it doesn't necessarily take a 4-year collegiate degree to do that. There's excellent opportunities. Many of our dealers sponsor those opportunities in trade schools.
Oh yeah, I sure did. I helped with SkillsUSA and anything I could do when I had my recruiters out talking to high school counselors and telling them the huge opportunity that's in trade. Mike Rowe, he's been the strong voice for us for decades, right? And has a good public platform to speak from. And when I first started recruiting, the high school counselors didn't see the opportunity in the trades or in our industry. They're really promoting 4-year degree, which I got, right? My parents did the same thing to me. They said, no, you're not going to stick around and go back to the farm. You're going to go and get a degree and do something better, in their mind, better than what they have done, right? Because it was such a struggle to make any money on a farm back those days. And it's still hard work, right? And so
let me tell you a story. One of the young men that I had a chance to mentor as part of McCabe, Adam Hinton and his buddy started a welding school here in Kentucky, Flemingsburg, Kentucky. It's about a decade old now. And they each year they have students from I think they've had students from 42 states come here. And when you get your welding certificate and you're a certified welder out of KWI, Kentucky Welding Institute, if you land a position or a job and in your first year make a 6-digit number, make over $100,000 welding, your helmet goes on the wall to KWI as a honorarium or as a testimonial to what you've done as a welding student. Now mind you, it's a lifestyle. Oftentimes on gas lines and some of the projects you have to travel, But what an
Sure.
excellent way to get yourself started in a certified manner and put yourself in a position where you can start a lifestyle that you can enjoy the other things that you want to do in your life.
Yeah. Well, and it wasn't that long ago that there's a reason why high school counselors started pushing everybody to a 4-year degree, because the trades didn't pay all that well. I
Exactly.
mean, if you're
Anybody who's had a refrigerator worked on, or a washing machine, or a heating and air vac system, they know what the pay is today. Now, those four, 4-HFFA, AFA, and SkillsUSA, they're not the only ones out there that are preparing young people for a career in the food channel. MANRRS, the MANRRS program, in fact, it's one of the more longer standing, started in 1986 when the government understood there was this shortage in people. And quite candidly, some of our minority groups were not getting the same opportunity as others. So MANRRS, it's minorities in agricultural, natural sciences, and related sciences. Goes very, very strong today. Have a very strong organization, particularly at the collegiate level. They have an annual conference. And again, they're opening the eyes of young people, of minorities, and giving them the same opportunity, the same chance, and with scholarships and opportunities. I think they're involved in numerous. In 2016, it was ADM and Secretary of Ag Vilsack that started a program today that exists on the campus in Denver, Colorado State University, called Together We Grow. And again, opening the eyes of collegiate students to the opportunities that exist somewhere in the food channel. Together We Grow. And it likewise is trying to align the technical aptitude and responsibilities that exist within the corporate universe to the young people that can fill it. Another one that's really fun. I've met a gentleman in Kansas City and his wife, Tom Gray and Amy Gray. And Tom is immigrated from I think New Zealand or Australia, came here some decade ago, came to find out how productive Americans were. And he was stricken with an idea. And this idea was, how can we put young people to work to see the value of their imaginations? So the organization is called Make 48. And what Tom and Amy do is they bring 24 young people together, 15, 18-year-olds, 24 in a cohort, divide them in teams, and probably come in teams from their different, it could be from an FFA opportunity or some other school program, maybe SkillsUSA. And they work in teams of 4 to 5, and they're given a project on Thursday. And they're given the guardrails of a project, and they have 48 hours to create the idea, invent the idea, design the idea, create the product, build the product, and sell the product to a group of judges. Make 48. What a unique idea. I've watched this happen twice. I watched it with Corteva, sponsored a project last November, December in Indianapolis, and the guardrails. The guardrails were design a product that will work in a food bank. And the winning team in the November program, sponsored by Corteva, were 4 sight-limited ladies from the Kansas School of the Blind, won that program. In Atlanta in June, the second one I watched, the guardrails were they were sponsored by AGCO Fent, and the idea was to add an accessory or an attachment to a 180 horsepower tractor that would make the tractor more productive. There were great ideas. 4 teams. I think there was a team from the Northwest, a couple teams from Georgia, a team from Hawaii, and the winning team designed this pet port that you could add to the rear window of the vehicle. And as many of us know, most farmsteads have a favorite animal that could be a working animal that helps. And that was the winning design. So Make 48 really it's great. It's absolutely great to watch these young people work together, come up with their idea. They have all of the resources necessary to do cutting, welding, electrical, a day on their project, and then have them watch them become marketers and sell their idea back to that group of judges. So that's another one that we watch. And then lastly, very new, 2022, the Native Americans also, just like MANRRS, have identified opportunities for the tribal groups. And it's called, it's the Tribal Agricultural Fellowship. Tribal Agricultural Fellowship, supported by John Deere, Farmer Mac, Farm Credit. And this group has 16 tribal nations across 15 states. They're involved with 19 universities, giving young tribal members the same opportunity to invest themselves and have the best. Do you know that in the food channel, Wayne, there are over 300 jobs, 300 careers that could be taken? Now, when I heard that at the FFA one time, I played the bullshit card. I said, 300, name them. And one of the colleagues in the FFA staff went back in the closet, pulled out a placemat that had been used for FFA meals and conventions, and say, here they are, they're lined up. So on this placemat were 300 different jobs that an individual could, if you want to be an accountant, be a food channel accountant. You want to be a lawyer, be a food channel lawyer. You want to be involved in logistics. How do you get product from A to B and move it logistically, whether it's on surface with rail or truck, whether it's through the air, through the surface? The logistics of getting food from the farm gate to the fork plate is enormous. It's an enormous opportunity.
Yeah, there's tons of opportunity out there. It's exciting. It seems like we are, as an industry, really in the last several years are starting to get the word out more and more. People are starting to see a different light on the food chain channels.
Well, what's helping us is social media.
Yes.
Social channels. Let's get back to the Youth Industry Council from AEM. Trevor Coward, who is a managing member of AEM, who has a stewardship of this group. There is membership in this group. It's volunteer. If you're a member of AEM, you can volunteer and be part of the council. We have members on the council from Komatsu, from Kuhn, from AGCO, John Deere, Cummins. And what we try and do is, in Klaas is involved. We trying to be a flashlight and shine a light on the activities that are happening, whether it's a state convention, a national convention, a local opportunity. And what we're asking for is generosity. And that generosity doesn't have to be capital. More importantly, it could be your time.
That's right.
Invest your time in one of these organizations. You can do it at the local level with 4-H or at the state level. You can do it at the national level with AFA and Together We Grow, MANRRS, the tribal councils. There's a number of places you can plug in. So what we try and do is identify a calendar of those activities. Many of us have attended those activities. Like I said, I've been involved with the FFA conference here in Kentucky. I've been involved with Make 48, been involved with Together We Grow. These are all places where all you have to do is raise your hand and somebody will find some place for your intelligence.
Well, I know as WB Global, when we went out, or you went out, and I seen some of that video from that Make 48. That just looks so fun. And it was like those kids were energized, it was neat. It was fun. It was engaging. I was like, that I would have loved to have been there.
Well, it's an aha moment. When you actually see these young people light up and to watch them work as a team, because you may have one individual who's got kind of that STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. They're gonna make sure the thing has purpose, and they will look at a product to enhance it as a 14-year-old in a whole different mindset,
totally different mindset
than a 44-year-old.
Amen.
Or a 64-year-old, and how they look at it, and they're curious. They're absolutely curious as to why things are designed the way they are. But through the Youth Industry Engagement Council, what we're trying to do is enhance that engagement, try and get people interested, try and expanding the interest in the industry, get more people in the industry aware of where this safe and abundant food supply comes from, and then foster this youth development. I get it. I can understand while at age 14, 6 million 4-H children, participants, drop off to 1 million in the FFA. It has to do with, in the school systems, it has to do with that advisor. They're so important. There's got to be an advisor in the school system, and you can bet that an FFA advisor in the public school system spends more time with their students than the football coach spends on the football field, or the basketball coach, or the debate team. They all have a supervised agricultural experience. It goes from their freshman to their senior year. They compete at the level. There's a force multiplier. There's a force multiplier that exists when you get together in an organization like FFA, and it has officer groups, and you get a chance to be a leader as an officer. You can take that officer leadership all the way to the state level. And I think you've seen this as well as I have. When you interview a young person for a job and you see their kind of character and their poise and their confidence and their background, in the back of your mind goes, aha, FFA.
Yeah.
Had to be an FFA. So,
right? Practicing. Yes. Role playing. Yep.
Well, and I think it only, and it's enriching. It's enriching to get back involved. At my age, I already whiffed on the next generation. My kids are doing what they do and how they do it, and they love doing it. But now, being a grandparent, you get a chance to get a mulligan. You get a chance to invest in that next generation and maybe do some things you didn't do with your own children. And you can amplify that numerous times by getting engaged in one of these 8 organizations. And even at the collegiate level, there are 2 male fraternities, 2 female sororities that continue to keep building your skill set as a participant, as a leader, and paying back into society in the food channel somewhere. So it's rewarding.
It is. And it keeps us young.
Yeah. And some of us need to be kept younger.
Amen. That's why, we'll continue to support those organizations through ours, WB Global.
And if you are a parent or a grandparent and you think that you'd like to help channel some of the energy, you can channel your own energy, but to promote these different opportunities within the school systems, and maybe what it takes is a little bit more. As I watched, I've got a niece by marriage and 2 nephew and niece that are involved in the 4-H at the local level in Iowa. And Amy is just she's a rock star, probably no better known person in the county, and how she helps marshal those young people in projects at the county fair level, regardless of what it is. You don't have to have the grand champion beef to be noticed at the county fair.
Exactly.
You could be involved in, any type of artwork. You'd be involved in photography. There's places to join. But then to see that level go to the state fair level and move on up to the next place, you get the courage in your heart to be able to do some of those things at a more national level.
That's a fact. That is a fact. Great input, Russ. I value your insight. I love knowing that we support those industries and those youth. And I know it makes me feel good when I watch some of those videos and see those young people engaged. I love it.
Yeah, it's and what you can really see too is the camaraderie that exists. There can only be one person to walk away with a blue ribbon. I get it,
right,
or purple, as the case may be. But to watch the encouragement that they go back into and supportive of the younger people, and
humility,
kind of being coaches and mentors themselves at a young level, they get to understand the value of competition and the courage to compete.
Yep. Makes them a really well-rounded individual. Good time invested with them. Well, hey, speaking of time, we've about exhausted our time, but you need to go back to work doing something. And it's a beautiful, beautiful day here in Nebraska. So I'm going to get outside and enjoy it before I have to travel.
I'll bet you're headed to the airport sooner than later.
Yes, sir.
All right. Very good, friend. I look forward to seeing you later in the week.
Sounds good. Take care.